DC and Marvel crossovers. I do believe a lot of us fans like to go into hypotheticals and think about what things would be like if these two worlds of superheroes and villains and fictional creations came together, worked with one another, fought one another, and so on. That's why on this channel, a lot of the videos I have done are relating to crossovers between DC and Marvel. And because a lot of the ones I do seem to do are more so based around villains that are being matched up with the opposite heroes in different universes, today I want to make a perfect or an ultimate crossover team between DC and Marvel heroes. So I created 4 teams, and mind you, 4 teams of an infinite amount of possibilities. There are so many variations of Marvel and DC teams, but these ones particular for me just stood out to me. Each team will have 6 characters, 3 from DC, 3 from Marvel. I thought about making them 8 characters, which I think would probably be the roster amount you would want if you actually created this into a story, but for now, to keep it simple, it's just 6. So kicking it off with Team 1, I have Batman, Wolverine, Black Canary, Daredevil, Katana, and Spider-Man. This particular team, to me at the very least, feels like a crossover between the Outsiders and the Defenders. I think at a certain level, these are all characters that I guess you would say are street level. However, they do have a lot to them that offers the capability of being more. Batman's part of the Justice League. So is Black Canary in certain instances. Wolverine, whereas he's not an Omega level mutant, has been one of the most OP mutants in history. Spider-Man has proven himself to be stronger than just any ordinary street level hero. They have a lot going for them, but I think their mindset would be to keep the particular city that they are centered in safe. I've talked about this in a previous video before, whereas a lot of people do like the idea of seeing Batman and Wolverine fight, because I mean, who wouldn't? I think it would actually be better to see them as friends or colleagues of sorts. I think they would really work side by side. Batman and Daredevil, whereas they may feel similar, if you put them two in a room with 50 or 60 opponents, they are very likely walking out unscathed. I also think Daredevil and Black Canary would have the potential of becoming really close with one another. And I don't necessarily mean, oh, here comes a relationship started, but I do think that they would be able to get along with one another, especially too when Black Canary already gets along with someone like that in Batman. I could see Spider-Man being the character that maybe thinks he shouldn't belong in this team, but they have all particularly asked him to be part of it, and it makes him feel very honored, because very often when we think of Spider-Man, yes, he's been a member of the Avengers and many other teams beforehand, but at least for me, I usually think of him as a character who stands on his own 6 times out of 10. And also, when it comes to brilliant minds, I do believe that Bruce Wayne and Peter Parker would find some common ground there. Then with Katana, I mean, there's a lot of things you could do here if you want to rewrite some origin stories or make some background stories for certain characters a little different. You could do it whereas Bruce Wayne met her throughout his training to become Batman. You could do it where somewhere down the line, Daredevil has met Katana as well. Black Canary has worked with Katana on multiple occasions in which they work well together. Maybe even an idea that when Wolverine was training in Japan with the Silver Samurai, perhaps one of his students was also Katana, and Wolverine had a connection with her in that instance. There's a lot of changes to these characters and stories you could implement to ensure they all work together in a Marvel DC crossover existent universe. Regardless, I believe that this team would gel and mold very well. For Team 2, I have Superman, Captain America, Green Lantern, John Stewart to be exact, Nightwing, Doctor Strange, and Mr. Fantastic. This is the team of a multitude of superhero teams across the world in a Marvel DC universe, where you would look at them and you would say, oh, those are the pinnacle of all superheroes. That's kind of beyond America's team. That's the world's team, I guess you could say. I think this is a group of people that the world would look at and they would say, yeah, I want to be Superman. Oh, I would love to be Nightwing. Yeah, I want to be Captain America. They almost, in a sense, stand for everything that you would want a superhero to stand for, and that's why they would be so popular and loved. There's no doubt in my mind Superman and Captain America would get along really well. And we all know that Nightwing gets along with Superman, but I think he would also really get along with Captain America. With Jon Stewart's Green Lantern and Captain America, I could see both of them working extremely well together on the battlefield, both of them being from military minds and knowing how to strategize a battlefield. Doctor Strange and Mr. Fantastic, of course, being more so the minds behind this group. However, Superman has had a crossover with the Fantastic Four before. I could only imagine he would get along with Reed Richards. And with Doctor Strange as well, I think those are another two characters who would get along with one another. I think Superman would really appreciate and respect Stephen Strange, and I think Stephen Strange would feel the exact same way towards Clark Kent. I think also the fact that yes, Superman is vulnerable to magic, but no, it does not make him this all-time weakling. However, with his vulnerability, Stephen Strange could do things for Clark that would make his vulnerability to magic a little more dim than it usually is. I'm sure there's a lot of things he could do, some practices and training that would help Superman recover from magic far quicker, or maybe even handle magic far better than he has before. I could also see Doctor Strange taking a very keen interest on the Green Lantern ring and the rest of the rings around the universe, viewing it as the universe's magic. And even though it's something he can't necessarily control, it's something he does find fascinating and interesting enough for him to research and learn as much about it as he can. Maybe even becoming a very good friend to the Green Lantern Corps in general. Becoming close acquainted friends and allies leads me to Nightwing with the Fantastic Four. Not only do I believe he would become good friends with Reed Richards himself, but I think he would have a good standing with the Fantastic Four group in general. I could see Nightwing getting very close with people like Human Torch and the Thing. However, disregarding all those details, I do believe that people would see this team as a group that once they enter the scene, everything is going to be fine. Now for Team 3, it's Zatanna, Ghost Rider, Raven, Magic, Dr. Fate, and Scarlet Witch. This team is a blend of a Justice League Dark and a Midnight Suns. The amount of pure power you have funneling through this group, I genuinely don't know who would beat these people. These characters feel so powerful even at their base forms that I almost feel as if they shouldn't be called in unless it is some sort of universal event, some universal threat. Otherwise, they have so much power to them. I could see 2 or 3 of them being able to handle threats instead of all 6 of them. I think it's relatively easy to say and pinpoint that Raven and Magic would probably get along with each other really well, maybe even view each other as some sort of sister that they never had. I also believe with Dr. Fate and Scarlet Witch, you could treat them as a situation where perhaps Dr. Fate was some sort of mentor to Wanda in the first place, and maybe this is why now, after so many years, Wanda does have complete control over her mind and over her capabilities. I think Dr. Fate would be one of the only people in existence to overcome and not even be phased by Ghost Rider's penance stare, in which would make him respect him in turn and join this Justice League Dark Midnight Kryptonite Suns type of a team. This team, of course, has a lot in common with one another. The magical abilities that they all share with each other, and also magical ingenuity, seeing how far their powers can extend and what they can do with it when they team up with one another. Let alone, there are so many regions that this group could explore and delve into further that all come with its own fair share of other characters and villains they could face. Limbo, Hell, the Lords of Chaos and Order, reality bending and shifting with Scarlet Witch. There is a lot of potential for a lot of magical exploration in this team up. And then last for this video, but certainly not the least, for Team 4, I have Iron Man, Ryan Choi's Atom, Black Panther, Ted Kord's Blue Beetle, Blue Marvel, and Mr. Terrific. I created this team with 3 things in mind. 1, they are astronomical IQ levels of genius. 2, they're CEO billionaire businessmen. And 3, both. Again, I think there are a multitude of characters who could belong in this team. Batman, even Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Mr. Fantastic. However, we gotta diversify it a little bit and use some different characters, of course. This team would just be nerd central. They would be using words and statistics and numbers and equations that would literally go over our head every couple of seconds. I think the only words we would be able to pull from their conversations are the, and but. When it comes to new technologies and creations and worldwide defense, this team has it covered. Probably has it covered before you even need it to be covered. There's something about Iron Man and Mr. Terrific, whereas their personalities are very different from one another, I think they would get along well being lab partners. I think both of them would be able to understand each other where they come from, 2 different sides of the table. One being an astronomical level of IQ, billionaire, CEO, playboy, philanthropist, and the list goes on. Whereas with Mr. Terrific, he just has the IQ level, not so much all the accolades that comes with what Tony Stark has. However, that does not matter at the end of the day, and I think Tony would really appreciate someone like Mr. Terrific making his path in life, not having the resources that maybe he had. For some reason, I could imagine Ryan Choi Adam being a respected and even loved guest amongst the people of Wakanda, getting along with Black Panther and almost becoming really good friends with one another, utilizing the labs and the sciences and the technology that Wakanda gives to Adam's Ryan Choi so he can create new things, not just for the team, not for the world, but even his own abilities and powers. And Black Panther himself is also a certified genius, so there is a lot he could do in terms of helping this team, let alone the fact that Wakanda itself is supposed to be one of the bigger, if not the biggest powerhouse in the Marvel universe, especially when it comes to Earth. Ted Kord Blue Beetle and Blue Marvel. Yes, they both have blue in their name. Maybe that is what drives a connection between the 2 of them. Outside of the fact that Blue Marvel holds an insane amount of power and is the most powerful person on this team by a long shot too, I do believe that his very powerful and brilliant mind and his understanding of matter manipulation science would be able to assist Ted Kord in understanding and studying the Scarab and all the powers that would come from that alien race and what Ted Kord would be capable of doing and exceeding with the power of Blue Beetle. As much as all of these characters are trying to scientifically create new ways of making people's lives easier and creating new gadgets and tricks for themselves, they're also here to help one another succeed and exceed in those projects. And let alone the trillions on top of trillions of dollars that this team would all own together. Stark Industries, Ted Kord Industries, Wakanda as a whole ass country. But there it is, 4 teams of Marvel and DC character team crossovers. Like I briefly mentioned at the beginning of the video, I think there are so many characters and so many variations of this team that could work. It is just an endless amount of options here. Batman could be part of any one of these teams. Wolverine could, Superman, Iron Man, and sometimes the teams don't even really need to make sense. It can just simply be characters that you would like to see team up together because you like them. So with that being said, you guys let me know in the comments below what your teams would look like consisting of DC and Marvel characters. That is all I have for you on this video, everyone. I do hope you all enjoyed it, and until the next time, I will talk to you all very soon.